I'm also a triple Hoya. You neglected to mention that I was a triple Hoya. So, let's lower this a little bit. First, I'd like to thank Karen Harbert for hosting this event. The Chamber's Global Energy Institute is very important to moving a lot of the issues along in energy that we, it's very important for this administration that we connect with the private sector and make sure that we're in tune with things. And so events like this are incredibly helpful. Congratulations to Tom for what appears to be a very successful kickoff of a very important program. And again, I want to say hello to Fred, who's always LNG allies have always been good at hosting excellent events. And congratulations to Tom, who's well on his way to creating an amazing amount of buzz for the World Gas Council next year, which we are looking forward to. I'd like to talk a little bit, just briefly, about the State Department's role in this natural gas revolution. The frameworks that we're looking at in terms of assisting other countries are very important in terms of creating demand in those countries. And I just want to kick off with a few facts, the sort of recurring theme I think we keep hearing here of in the last decade. So, we're here because of what's happened in the last decade, obviously. Just to give some numbers, we've nearly doubled our oil production, we've increased our natural gas production by 40%, and we've gone from being a net importer to a net exporter, as I think every speaker here will probably say today. According to the 2017 World Energy Outlook, which was just released, the resilience of shale gas and tight oil in the United States cements the U.S.'s position as the biggest oil and gas producer in the world, even at lower prices. Today, we're producing 775 billion cubic meters of gas annually. And according to the EIA, U.S. natural gas production is on its way to nearly 1 trillion cubic meters a year as soon as 2025. Trillion with a T. That's a lot of gas. The United States' tremendous energy resources allow us to serve as a faithful and dependable partner in the export and sale of our high-quality and low-cost energy resources, technologies, and services. Indeed, in less than 2 years, more than 200 cargoes have left Sabine Pass, reaching more than 24 countries. That is a remarkable global footprint. This has occurred with only 1/5 of the U.S. liquefaction in operation. From a U.S. foreign policy perspective, which is what the State Department really cares about, we see enormous opportunities stemming from the U.S. contributions to a rapidly evolving and globalizing LNG market. Well-functioning, competitive, and efficient gas markets strengthen global energy security, foster environmental stewardship, and advance the economic and commercial interests of the U.S. and our allies and partners. The bottom line is that the strength of the U.S. energy sector impacts how we approach foreign affairs. When it comes to energy, the Trump administration's foreign policy focus on 3 core tenets. First, opening markets and removing trade barriers. Second, promoting imports of energy supplies, technologies, and services. And, importantly, and sometimes gets lost in the shuffle, that we ensure the economic and energy security of the United States and our allies and partners. Complementing efforts like the USTDA's new program on U.S. gas infrastructure development, the Bureau of Energy Resources at the State Department is working with governments to craft regulations and policies, the frameworks that they're going to need to have successful markets, as they pursue LNG imports as a partial solution to their energy needs. For example, just this week we have a team in Croatia exploring how we can assist the government with its desired FSR unit on Kirk Island. As FSRU on Kirk is important because if constructed, it would help diversify energy supplies in Croatia and in Europe widely, and strengthen European energy security. Of course, U.S. energy exports are just one part of this story. The initiative that will be launched today seeks to connect U.S. companies to opportunities across the natural gas value chain in emerging economies. Well-governed energy sectors allow industry-leading U.S. companies to better compete on a level playing field for greater new opportunities around the world, which also increases energy security. That is why the State Department helps countries to establish the fiscal, regulatory, legal, and policy frameworks needed to attract investment for energy projects. For example, right now we are working with our European partners on their energy security. This includes the Ukraine, where natural gas is key to their security, and the Russians have been, well, not always the best energy partner for Ukraine. That's why we assist corporate governance reforms in Ukraine's state-owned energy companies to reduce reliance on Russian gas imports, promote privatization of inefficient state-owned enterprise, and accelerate reforms to combat rampant corruption, which it's still a long way to go. Our efforts in the Ukraine are taking place as Europe continues to expand infrastructure and implement market rules to take advantage of more competitive global gas environment. The successful start of LNG import terminals in Lithuania and Poland have increased regional supply optionality and allow these countries to partially wean themselves from Russian pipeline gas with LNG. It gives them an option. They're not totally stuck with just Russian gas. We're trying to give them options. Croatia, Bulgaria, and Greece are planning import terminals and pipeline investments that, like the Polish terminal, could supply gas to Central and Eastern Europe, including Hungary and the Ukraine. Interconnecting infrastructure and development market rules encourage regional trade that is also critical for energy security and economic development. Doing so enables competitive energy trade that lowers energy costs while also enabling markets greater access to a diversified mix of fuels, types, technologies, supply sources, and delivery routes. For example, the pipelines that we've been building between the United States, Mexico, and Canada have driven down the cost of energy, spurred economic growth, and increased regional energy security. ENR facilitates this process, this integration, through our presidential permitting process for liquid petroleum pipelines. With the work of, I think many of you in this room know Melissa Simpson and some other folks at the State Department, we've approved 5 permits for projects since taking office, including 2 new pipelines and 3 changes to existing pipelines that will expand markets throughout the United States. Again, the State Department doing its part to create market certainty so that market actors, people who want to invest these massive amounts of money, have certainty as to what the process will be for them and that it will not be onerous. In closing, the State Department will continue to invest our diplomatic capital and technical assistance resources in ensuring countries achieve their own goals for energy security and economic development. Doing so makes for a stronger and safer global community while providing opportunities for U.S. companies to excel. The United States has a competitive advantage when it comes to energy technologies, and this advantage translates into American jobs and investments into U.S. infrastructure. That's certainly the case with natural gas. We look forward to working closely with the USTDA and others in the administration to continue to highlight the competitiveness of U.S. energy exports. Thank you for having me.